research charity in order to try and pursue these ideas, but of course it's going to take a great deal of money, and it's only going to happen if people are convinced that this is actually, a great set of ideas, or that it's highly doable, or whatever. Which is why I'm sharing it. I'm also sharing it because I think AI should be open source and community accepted, community approved. Because people start producing AI systems, there'll be crowds of people with pitchforks at the door. Wanting blood, potentially, with the fear generated by AI as a result of people seeing, movies like Terminator. So I'm trying to avoid that. So this is all part of the plan. This is why I'm going to want some feedback from you, and also as a general group as to what we can do in the future, what you would like to do as a group. Safety first. It's a different topic. You'd have thought we'd talk about safety first, but safety to do with AI is irrelevant if it's not actually going to happen. Worrying about AI safety and AI taking over the world, to me, people, Andrew King said it's like worrying about overpopulation on Mars. It's an issue that once you get down the roadway, that we need to worry about, but we're at such a ground low level stage at the moment that what the current plans I have, I believe would be entirely safe. And, we can discuss the possible answers to safer AI on another night, and it's a different topic. I've actually got that presentation prepared, and I could present it tonight, but we'll see how we get on. Anyway, so what's the basis of advanced general intelligence, or AGI, as some people call it, or sometimes we call it human level intelligence, HLI instead, as opposed to AI, which actually isn't that intelligent quite often because people have hijacked the word for AI. So we're talking about intelligence that is human-like. Well, so if you ask what's the basis for human-like intelligence, Jeff Hawkins in a book that was very popular on intelligence, very good book. He has got his own AI company. He summarises it that as in a sort of scenario as to describing the nature of human intelligence, and saying that when you're driving home, from work as it were, you're able to go on autopilot and you can be thinking about other things, and then when you get home, if someone's actually moved the doorknob of your front door, you can put your hand out to know where the doorknob should be. You probably won't even look at it as to know where it should be. Somebody moves it by half a centimetre, you would jump back to know that hang on, someone's messing with my world. So we have a model of the world that is running in our head, and if the unexpected turns up, moved door handles, whatever it is, dangerous things, all of a sudden we are sort of activated into a state that we take more attention. We come out of that semi-conscious, less focused, but still self-aware state, and we're focused on something new. So he believes that the neocortex, are the big blobby extra bits, the large lobes on the human brain, are actually very much involved in doing this, and that's actually what gives us as being special as humans. I think he's right, and actually, as it turns out, I think that that's also very important in language understanding, and I'll explain why as we go along, and why I think it's an approach that's been under-addressed in the current sort of thought processes or approaches to AI that people are following with looking at artificial neural networks and what we're doing at the moment. So, understanding words. Words are labels. that we use to recall concepts and objects, but actually, we will have known a lot of stuff before we had the words. When did you know who your mother was? When did you know the experience of orange? So these are all things that you subsequently labelled, which you previously had the experience of. So, there's something interesting going on there. Now, the current work on word understanding, there's been a lot of work on what people call the semantic web, and OWL. I can't actually remember what it's called, what it stands for, but there's a World Wide Web standard for OWL, where it's an XML thing for describing the relationships between father and children, brother and daughter, and how words mesh together in relationships. But actually, it doesn't give you any understanding of actually what daughter means as such, because it's just text on a page or on a computer. There's no physicality of what the experience of knowing daughter is. So that is the what they call the symbol grounding problem, which has been kicking around, badly described for a long while. But essentially, in order to understand words, you need a world simulation. You need to be able to link an experience of the world to a real-time experience of the world, to a model of the world, to get an understanding of words. All right, then. So what is communication about? Well, communication, when we're deciding to say something, it's because it's been derived from an intent. We've decided that it would be a good idea to say something, but we're deciding to do that because we have a plan. We have a plan because we've got a model of the world in our head, and we're saying that I'm wanting to alter the world by the phrase that I'm about to utter in order to have a different outcome, because in the future I'm hoping that something will be different because I will have persuaded someone to do something, So even if I'm just making a statement, there's a purpose to the communication. And again, this is coming back to an in-mind linked simulation of the world, and that being important. So when you think about the words that are involved in language, in the English language, I've actually seen the full Oxford English Dictionary, and it's a big shelf of very tiny printed, the 20 volume, they're huge. And I think people actually only use about 50,000 words, but we're I'm recording this again now. There's a hell of a lot of words. You couldn't hard code all of that, if you wanted to teach a computer that. So how few words could you start off with? Can you hard code a few words that is using a similar strategy in how they are taught to the computer, which meant that, as it were, you started with, well, actually it wouldn't be the base of the pyramid, it would be the inverted tip of a pyramid, the pointy bit. That if you were able to light the blue touch paper of understanding, as it were, on a firework, and then all of a sudden, the vocabulary would just start to expand. Could you get that tiny amount of words, whatever it is, how many do you need to start with, in order to actually kick off a process of developing an understanding of this enormous number of words? Is there perhaps a way of doing that? Well, also nature of words. They depend on other things, like the word this. This, contextually, you can think of this as being the word that identifies something that's within arm's length. Yeah. People don't think about actually what this means, but that is a function of the word this in English. In that I can call it this thing this, but I can't. I would call that thing that, because it's outside of my range. So there's a physical context to that word, a sort of a situational context, and also a bunch of opportunities. The fact that you know, I'm able to describe this as a this, it means that I can throw it at something. You know, there are a set of outcomes that are associated with that word in terms of its usage. So, you know, you need a small set of words and a set of usages that are also small in order to, you know, create this bootstrap that hopefully we can think about creating. So, creating more complex words from simple words, you can simply concatenate them. Well, that works in German, but you know that's not going to help us. We need something that's a bit more intelligent than that. If you could translate, you know, use those smaller words to define more complex words, and then use those definitions to create a model of understanding based on those words. You know, in that you're using the smaller words and the bigger words, perhaps some additional linking to a model of the world. You know, that potentially, you know, that could be a way to go. So you're talking about identifying word atoms and try to move on to molecules. So you know that's the task, as it were. So all right. I've been trying to study this for quite a time, and I spent a long time on Google trying to figure out answers to this. And I've been asking the questions: what's the existing research? What's been done on this? Well, it turns out it's not well known within the AI community, but there's a whole bunch of stuff in this area called the semantic primes and natural semantic metalanguage. This is done by a couple of academics in Australia. First work in 1972. It actually goes back further than that. In the sort of the concept is a sort of a Middle Ages philosophical idea. I can't remember the particular philosophers who originally coined, you know, the concept of the fact that this was possible. Anyway, these are people who've got lots of citations on Google Scholar. So this particular one for Professor Wisbika, I think is the right way to pronounce it, but she's Polish, so it's hard to tell as an Englishman to get the pronunciation right. There's some links for her Google Scholar and also for Professor Glyph Gonard. Yeah, you can see she's got 2,362 citations on later work and 900 odd for the original work. So, you know, an academic's dream in terms of success and interest for her work. But the AI people aren't following this up. Now, how good an idea is it to use these? Well, all right, I'll carry on talking about this in a bit more detail. How they're identified? Well, these are things that have no meaningful dictionary definition. They tend to be things that are about human sensory experience. Things like the word this or up or move, touch, you know, contact, as it were. You know, there's actually only 65 of these words. Well, producing a model of 65 words to put inside a computer brain, that doesn't sound too scary, actually. Now it's coming down to sensible. There's also in other things that can be defined with the semantic primes. You know, if you're one of these linguistic, you know, like Professor Aaron and so on, you can come up with linguistic definitions of various other things like man and woman and so on from these 65 words. So these are a small set of molecule type words which allow the primes to function in conversation. So the whole point of this, what they were attempting to do, was to create a language of thought, a theory of thought. Now, the important thing about this is the fact that it is universal, because thought is universal. So these are words that are core to all languages. They are universal. It's part of our human experience. They define human experience. Now, they're able to define or paraphrase any concept. That's our pizza just arriving. So it's a very good time to pause and come back to this.